What's up, everybody? So I have a pretty dope video I think you guys are going to enjoy. We're jumping straight into the haircut and we're going to move quickly, so follow along if you would like. But once again, I think it's a pretty fire cut and I really think that you're going to enjoy it. So let's go ahead and jump into this video. All right, so we're gonna jump right into this haircut. We're using the Andis Masters and we're doing a high taper on the side. We're gonna go ahead and close that all the way, creating our first guideline. And then we're going to create our second guideline, opening the blade fully open, going up about 3/4 of an inch. Now, I brushed it down so that way I can kind of see how my guideline's looking, and I wanna make sure that I have good, clean guidelines. Now, most of you guys know that I like to just speed through a haircut to lay a good foundation, and I can come back later and do the detail work. Now, I close the blade halfway, and I'm going to use the corners of the blade to kind of tap at that line and kind of flick out at it to make sure that we blend in that bottom line. Now, creating the third guideline, we're going in with a number one open. And we're gonna probably go up about 1.5 inches because I want to stretch this blend out a little bit, and just kind of keep running over that area with that one open, and then I'll brush it down, see what we're looking like, and then I'm going to close it, dropping a little bit lower, working on trying to blend that line out into the one open that we just did. We're just going to go ahead and flick at that line and fade towards that third guideline that we created, not going all the way up to that third guideline. Now we're not gonna take that line all the way out because we'll come back later with a 0 guard or a half guard and we'll knock that out. So right now I have a 1.5 guard on there, halfway open. Now I'm just gonna go ahead and you know, try to knock out that third guideline with that 1.5, but I'm flicking out as I go higher, because I'm basically going to use that same 1.5 closed in a little while, and we're going to go all over the head with it with the grain, and it'll just blend right into that. So now we're going to go ahead and use that 0 guard or half guard, halfway open. I've told you guys before that anytime I have a half guard on the clipper, I always want to start halfway open, and sometimes I'll need to close it if need be. Like I closed the 1.5 guard just a little bit because I wasn't getting the blend that I wanted, but always start halfway open, not fully open. So now I'm just using that open blade to just go in and, you know, use the corners to touch any little dark spots that I see or lines, just to tie that blend together better. It's already coming together nicely. However, we're just laying a foundation. We'll come back later. I skipped the trimmer altogether, being I balled it out with my clippers, and I'm just going to go ahead and use the shaver. And right now, just like using the corner of my clipper blades or corner of my guards, I'm using the corner of the shaver and just kind of tapping at it in little spots that I see on that previous line to blur it out. Now I'm going to go ahead and come and just establish that line up on the back of the neck and around the ear. Just get that looking clean. And then I'll move straight over to the front vertical bar and tap at that guideline as well. While I'm on this side, I'm going to go ahead and hit up the beard. So you'll see me just hit the back of the beard. I'll also go ahead and line up that beard as well, but I didn't show that. So now we're moving to the back of the taper. Same exact steps. Once you have a system in place that works, work your system. Move through your system as quick as possible to lay a good foundation. You can always come back at the end and do detail work. So we did that same, you know, closed blade. Now moving up about 3/4 of an inch, we're using the blade fully open, and we're just creating a nice, good, clean second guideline. Now I'm going to close the blade halfway and start working at taking out that line. I'll use the corners of the blade to try to tap at that line. And then if it doesn't come out all the way, I'll close it just a little bit more. If you're not subscribed to the channel, please do that. Dropping fire content every week to make sure that we give you guys something to, something to watch so you can learn some, tips and tricks, and then you can apply to your life. One thing that I know is a lot of barbers use similar techniques. So it's not always about developing the technique or learning something new on this channel, which I believe I try to always give you something new to learn. But I think also the most important thing that I bring to the table is developing your eye. I think that whenever your eye is developed and you know what a blend is supposed to look like, then you'll find the system or the techniques that work best for you to accomplish that look. So that's my goal, man. I want to give you something to look at that you can say, man, that's blurry, and it will challenge you to put out blurry fades. So same exact steps we did earlier. Closed to create the first guideline, open to create the second guideline, then we did the number one open, and then the number one closed, and now we're going to that 1.5 halfway open. As you can see, that number one closed did not blend that second guideline out. So we'll come back with a 0 guard halfway open or a half guard halfway open, and we'll tap at that line. Right now I'm just kind of flicking out into that longer hair just to do a decent blend, and like I said, we'll do detail work later. But I'm going to keep in mind that I'm going to go ahead and use that 1.5 close all over his head, going with the grain in the future. Usually I like to go ahead and cut down the top first and then blend, but today I just did it a little different. Sometimes I like to switch it up, so I did the taper first, and then we'll come back and do the top later. So now we're just going to go ahead and use that 0 guard halfway open or half guard halfway open, and just kind of blend into that one that we did previously. And I'll close it until I can get this bottom line faded out a little bit better. All right, that 0 guard close did not take that line out, so I'm going back to no guard all the way open and just kind of tapping. And sometimes when you're tapping, the reason I don't like to use the full blade, you'll notice right here that it almost looks like I created another line on that right bottom side by the lineup. So I'll come back and tap at that with the corner of the blade and just try to soften that blend up a little bit. Right here is where I'm hitting it. Anyways, we just keep on working and tapping till we can get it blending as nice as possible. There again, not looking for perfection, laying a good foundation so we can come back in and do detail work at the end. So now I'm gonna go ahead and hit them. Look at that laser beam, boy, like a laser. Them things are hitting. I'm just giving a nice clean line up there on the neck and going right up around the ear. All right, so now we're gonna do the same exact thing that we were doing on the other side. We're just gonna go ahead with the blade fully closed, no guard, create that first guideline. And then quickly move this with a flip of the thumb, open it all the way up, make your second guideline. Remember, we went up about 3/4 of an inch, so we're gonna do the same thing on this side. And then we'll go ahead and, which I kind of skipped that a little bit, but we close it halfway and start tapping at that line to blend it in. And then once that's looking, pretty decent, we'll go ahead and jump into that number one fully open. I like to go up a little bit higher with that number one so I can stretch that blend a little bit. This side always gives me a little bit more difficulty on his head than the other side, but that's okay. We just got to keep on, working at it. Sometimes you got to go in different directions, but then we're going to go ahead and close it and just flick at that line right into the 1.5 that the one open that we did just a second ago. And I'm not looking for perfection. I know I can always come back in later and do detail work. I'm just trying to lay a good foundation, and we'll keep it moving. So now we have the 1.5 guard halfway open, and I'm just flicking right towards the top, and I'm keeping in mind the shape that I want the blend to be. So yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and keep working at that, and then we close it all the way and just try to tie that blend together. So whenever I'm having difficulties blending going up, I just flip my clippers over and I go with the grain to kind of smooth it out, and then I'll go back up against the grain, and I might do that several times, man, to get that desired look. But now I'm gonna go ahead. That was the 0 guard that I was using, by the way. And now being that 0 didn't take the line out like I wanted it to, going back to that open blade, no guard, and just using the corners, man, tapping out any little spots that I see, like that pain in the butt spot right there. I just keep on tapping at it, so that way I can kind of knock it down. I got a good foundation going. I know I'm gonna come back in a little bit and do some detail work, so I'm cool with that. There again, totally skipping the trimmer, being I balded it out with my masters. I'm just gonna grab the shaver and shave whenever I'm getting underneath that blend. Don't want to create a hard line with that shaver, so I'm just kind of flicking at it. Now we're going to line up the front, being ever so mindful and careful that we don't want to take his edge back. So as you can see, it's a little sparse towards the edge there. So I'm trying to just stretch those hairs, knowing that I can always give him some color enhancement or some hair fibers to make that line look sharper and fuller. But there again, just keeping in mind that as I'm lining him up, that I don't want to take it back too far. Some people would take it all the way back to get the darkest, sharpest line. I didn't want to do that. I want to go ahead and preserve as much as that hairline as possible, but always start in the middle of the head and work my way to the highest corner first, and then I can see from that corner how high I need to take the lower corner. So yeah, so we're just gonna go ahead and follow it all the way through, man. Try to make the other side even with the side that we just cut, and in the middle, sometimes you just got to kind of go back and forth across the front to get it where you feel like it's straight. There again, I didn't want to go too high up. I'll just hit it with some color enhancement and hair fibers, and we'll keep it moving. You want to make sure those corners where the vertical bar meets the front lineup, that they're nice and sharp and straight. Now we're going to add some color enhancement on his lineup and on his beard. And then we'll come back in, man, and hit it with the razor and throw some color or some fibers on his lineup. Now, whenever I spray color, this is something I always do. You'll see in just a minute. I get my little brush, and I like to use my Gamma brush. I feel like it's got the good thick bristles that are kind of firm, and I just brush to kind of blend that color in a little bit and to lighten that color so it looks more natural. Then I'll do the same thing inside the goatee area, just making those lines look sharp, making that beard look fuller, especially if the beard was taken, the lineup on the beard was taken too low and we're trying to bring it back up. Those hairs are going to be lighter because that's new growth. So that's why I want to put that color enhancement on there, just to bring that line up and still make it look full until he can grow it out and we can sharpen it up. So now I'll put a little hairspray on, and now I'm hitting them with the fibers. If you watch any of my videos, you know for years that I would do hairspray, fibers, hairspray, I'll blow dry it, and then I would line it up. I realized after all these years that it's hard to get that hair. Once you've hairsprayed it, it's hard to get it off the forehead. So now what I've been doing, it makes life so much easier. I'll hairspray it, throw the fibers, I come in once it's dry, I line it up, scrape all the hair off his forehead, and then I hit it with the hairspray again, and then I let it dry while I'm doing something else. And and then I'll come in with the razor like I'm doing now, and it actually gives that nice ash line illusion. But now I'm not trying to scrape all this hairspray and hair fibers off of his forehead to do that. So I just went ahead and hit that with the razor. While I'm on this side, I was going to go ahead and hit the beard line up, the top of the beard. Going across the front, just, hitting him with the razor and at the same time scraping that hairspray off his forehead. Then we're moving right back down to the beard. Now this is where I do my detail work. I like to use my JRL 1000s to do detail work. Here I'm just got them wide open as far as the blade, and I just like to softly, with a soft touch, I just like to go with the grain. This is another technique I use. It really helps get a blurry blend, and that's the raking technique. You could do that with these clippers or with any clippers. So I switched it up because I wanted to show you can still do detail work with any clipper that you have, but we got it wide open and no guard on it, just the blade. And I just kind of go with the grain, and I'm hitting those dark spots, and I'm trying to hit any lines and just kind of flow with the grain. And then I'll turn around and use the corner of the blade just to tap at any lines or dark spots, and I'll do that over and over again until it gets to that desired look. But anyways, guys, this is the cut. Until next time, God bless you guys. I'm out of here. Peace.